Narcissistic mother-in-law expects us to send 50+ invitations 54 days before the wedding. Original post. I've been asking her for her guest list for the last 10 months. We already invited the friends and family of hers that we know of, but my fiancé has always been completely disconnected from her side of the family to the point that he doesn't know anyone's names. I asked every month for any additional names and addresses we might have missed. I told her the latest date, the 31st of December, I can add to the guest list so I can get enough invitations printed and envelopes printed. I didn't get her guest list until the 3rd of March, and it had over 50 people. I simply didn't have enough envelopes, so my fiancé and I looked through all the names and invited only the people he actually knew. Now she is furious that we didn't invite all of her third cousins 2 times removed, the son of her friend who we have never met, and people whose names we've never even heard of. I am convinced that she is going to just tell people when and where it is, and we're going to have to turn these people away. My fiancé has been trying to deal with it, but she refuses to talk to him and insists on only talking to me. She feels that she can just bulldoze me because I'm not comfortable arguing with her, so she's been harassing me nonstop. She keeps saying, "I'll pay for everyone's plate, I'll pay for them." Bitch, that's not the problem. It's fucking tacky and disrespectful. Also, you don't have a job. How are you paying for anything? On top of all that, she hates everything about the wedding we've planned. Hates our photographer, our venue, my dress, his suit, our caterer, everything. She told me and my parents the other day that no one will take our marriage seriously because it's not being officiated by a representative of God. Okay then, you narcissistic bitch, don't come. You and your family can have your own religious circle jerk at your church. Everyone will be so much happier. Now for the top comments before reading the update. Comment 1. My fiancé has always been completely disconnected from her side of the family. She refuses to talk to him. So how would your fiancé feel about uninviting her? Comment 2. This, definitely. Also advise hiring security as well to remove disruptive individuals. It will lower the tension and allow you to enjoy your special day. Comment 3. I hope you password protect with all of the vendors, or you might have something canceled. I'm a total B-word, so I wouldn't have printed invitations or invited anyone past the deadline. You need security for the wedding and reception with guest lists, and no one else allowed. Mother-in-law wouldn't be the first to invite people behind your back. Comment 4. Oh, believe you me, all of our vendors are well aware and are already planning to have security to check people in and make sure no one acts out of line. Now for the update. We are currently at 29 days to go. RSVP deadline was 2 days ago, but we've had to chase down a few people, of course. So just to answer a few questions from my last post. I couldn't print more invitations to accommodate her guests because I went through a friend who is a very talented letterpress designer. She is incredible and does everything by hand. Her attention to detail has been absolutely stunning. I wanted this event to help boost my friend's small business, which it really has, yay! Her process is rather time-consuming, and ordering the specific paper and invitations takes at least a week. The whole printing process took about 3 weeks total, and with the timeline my mother-in-law left me, that just wasn't possible. Aesthetics is important to me regarding the paper details, as I am also a designer. I'm not telling guests to wear a specific color or anything like that, but in regard to the specific details from my vendors, I have a very clear vision. Finally, yes, I foresaw issues with my mother-in-law and my sister-in-law, who was diagnosed with bipolar type 2 and borderline personality disorder, and last I heard 2 years ago, she hates me. So hiring security was literally the first thing I did after signing the contract with the venue. All vendors know that the only people who can make changes are me and my fiancé. No, I cannot disinvite my mother-in-law because while she is not specifically contributing financially, her husband, estranged but still married weird, I know, is contributing the majority of the finances for the entire weekend's events. Father-in-law wants nothing to do with the drama, doesn't give AF about his wackadoodle wife and daughter, or any of the drama. He just wants to impress and get drunk with his hunting buddies at the wedding. So, on to the update. Just this past week, with 34 days to go, my future mother-in-law sent a photo of wedding invitations she had printed and had mailed out to an additional 60 people. The insanity of the action and the logistical headache she is causing me and my venue, catering, security, rental team aside, the invitations are heinous. Like, they're similar, I guess, to our originals, but the vibe, the color, the execution is just so wrong. My invites are understated, cute, a little flirty, and kind of retro. Hers are poorly designed, stuffy, outdated bullshit. The font styles are so ugly and incompatible with one another. The tone of red is awful. I know this complaint is so not important, yet my overexhausted, overwhelmed, and fucking over it ass is I just so disgusted by both her behavior and the design execution. The thing is, my grandma died this last Saturday, and my fiancé and I had to make an emergency trip to attend her funeral. Skipping it was not an option for me. I loved my grandma so much. She was with my grandfather for over 70 years. They met in their teens. He is absolutely devastated, and I just can't help but think about the strange dissonance of planning this wedding and caring about such stupid things. Meanwhile, the longest relationship I have ever known, the foundation of what I understand as a lasting, loving, respectful marriage, has been temporarily divided by death. On top of that, work is amping up to be insanely busy right now. I will have to be out of town for the next 2 weeks, and most of my days will be 12 to 14 HR days helping to facilitate massive events. I had planned for this as I knew well in advance that it would happen, but I didn't account for all of the bullshit and loss that has happened. And of course, when it rains, it pours. My partner and I found out last week that we will have to move immediately after the wedding, so we have been scrambling to coordinate that. I don't want to, but life loves its curveballs. I just can't bring myself to care enough to do anything about my mother-in-law's behavior. I can't bring myself to care about finalizing anything for the wedding, even though it's the final stretch. The thing I am most sad about, other than my grandparents of course, is that I was so excited to plan my wedding. I actually looked forward to being frazzled about wedding stuff. I worked as an assistant wedding planner in the past, for Chris' sake. I didn't hire a wedding planner. I did hire a day of coordinator, thank God, because all the wedding planners I spoke with ended up telling me, honestly, I don't think you need my services if you've done everything already. I've been planning my wedding since I was in middle school. I've always dreamed of how fun and hectic and wild and joyful this process would be. Up until this point, the whole wedding planning process has been such a lovely bonding experience for my fiancé and I was feeling so good about it. Now I'm just too spent and exhausted for the final stretch to even really care, and that breaks my heart. When people ask who it's going to, all I can think is to say, who knows? Didn't expect this update to go like this when I first started writing, but now I'm crying, so I'm gonna stop. Thank you for listening. Story 2. I, 25 female, think I just dumped my boyfriend, 30 male, because he proposed. What now? Original post. Today is mine and my boyfriend's second anniversary, though the first 6+ months of this we were FWB, so I don't think it counts, but he does. I don't talk to my parents, haven't said a word to them since I was 16. I don't want to put the reason here, but it was bad enough that never speaking to them again could be seen as them getting off lightly. I left home at 16 by marrying my best friend. He knew what was happening the whole time and wanted to help me, and it was bad enough that marriage was the best escape plan I had. It was the only way to avoid being dragged back home. I'd tried running away before this, but we divorced 5 years later. We were both having issues with student finance, so we needed to go through it as married. I took his surname to avoid being tied to my parents, and my friend and I are still close. He actually set me up with my current boyfriend. My mom contacted me right before Christmas. I deleted my old Facebook and then made a new one back in November and forgot about the privacy settings until mom messaged. She was asking if her and dad could see me on Christmas Day. My boyfriend saw the message and asked who it was. I admitted she was my mother. This led to questions, as the only time I'd talked about my parents was to say I don't speak to them. I said that she found me, but I wasn't going to reply. I said I have my reasons which I'm not ready to tell yet, but I would as soon as I was ready. He said that was good enough for him. I blocked her and moved on. It's been a few months, and I've been trying to tell him, but it's hard. It's like every time I try, I just can't get the words out. And then tonight, on our second anniversary, he proposed, using my nan's ring, which my parents have. I asked where he got it, and he told me he'd gone to see my parents. He got Mom's name when she messaged me, contacted her, and went to see her within a few days of me getting that message, the whole time knowing that I didn't want to hear from her. He'd asked them for permission to marry me, and they'd given him Nan's ring because Nan always meant for me to have it. I don't know if I actually dumped him. I definitely told him to leave, but I didn't actually break up with him. He's at his sister's place right now and keeps calling, texting me, wanting to know what he did and asking me to call him, and his sister, who I'm friends with, is also asking what's happened. I knew he was traditional, and he put a lot of stock into family, which is why he was so close with his family, but he knew I didn't speak to mine and never pried into it. Just took me at my word when I said I'd tell him when I was ready, and when I said that, he'd said that he was patient and could wait as long as I needed. When I was in therapy, my therapist used to make me write stuff down or draw pictures or basically just put my feelings somewhere to get it out, so that's what I'm doing now. I wasn't even sure I was going to post this, but right now I'm just so lost, and I have no idea what I'm doing or where I go from here. I love him, but this is honestly the only thing like this that I've ever asked of him. 6 hours ago, I could see a future here, but now the last few months, this proposal, and any future proposal, all feel tainted somehow. I love my Nan, but knowing he asked my parents for permission and knowing how he got Nan's ring just makes me feel sick. Edit. He gave me his reasoning through messages and voicemails. His stance is that there's an importance to the tradition, and family is important, and there's mentions of my parents meeting our kids one day and Dad walking me down the aisle at our wedding. He seems to think the whole thing's fixable, and it sounds like they gave him some fake story about them grounding me, so I ran away, or something equally minor on their part and drastic on mine. He's also said that they seemed like nice people, and if he'd gotten a bad feeling when he was messaging my mom, he would never have gone to meet them. From what he said, they asked about me, specifically what I do in my workplace, and he's given them this information, but no means of contacting me directly. I don't know what to do. I need someone to tell me what to do. I need a third party to give me advice, and that would normally be a therapist or something, but it's the middle of the night, and I stopped going to therapy years ago, so can someone just please tell me what to do? Put things in perspective? Give me advice? Now for the update. My ex-husband was not happy with my boyfriend, to say the least, and told me that my boyfriend had actually asked him what happened about 6 months ago. But my ex-husband had said it was up to me to tell him when I was ready, and my boyfriend had said that was fair enough and he'd wait for me to tell him. Ex-husband hadn't told me any of this because I'd only just asked my boyfriend to move in and he didn't want to undercut my happiness, which he has apologized for and said he won't do that again, as in, he won't keep things from me to protect me. So boyfriend comes over, ex-husband is already there. Boyfriend asks why ex-husband is here. I say I invited him for emotional support when I tell him everything. Boyfriend isn't happy but sits down. I then began to tell him. The first thing I said was what they did in the bluntest language possible, as in my dad ___ and my mum ___. I started to elaborate when my boyfriend interrupts and says something like, "They told me you'd lie." Ex-husband tells him to watch how he's speaking to me, and boyfriend says he'll speak to me how he likes, and then tells me that he knows the truth and implies I should be thanking him for sticking around. The truth appears to be my parents telling him that I was always unstable, refused to see a mental health professional, and eventually they caught me breaking the law, and rather than report me, they grounded me. And I ran away rather than get grounded, all of which is absurd, and I honestly can't believe that he bought it. Ex-husband tells boyfriend, or rather ex-boyfriend, that he has half an hour to pack his shit and leave, and if he speaks to me at all, his time straight goes to 0. My ex-boyfriend packs his shit and leaves silently. So to recap, he knew that 1, I've not spoken to my parents in a decade, 2, I got married at 16 and took my husband's surname to escape, hide from them, 3, it was bad enough that I still have nightmares over it, and 4, I'd tell him when I was ready. Within a few days of hearing point 4, he sought out my parents and asked permission to marry me based on his own gut feeling about them, because the vibe he got from their texts was a far better judge of character than my 16 years with them, per S. They fed him lies about me, which he bought, and he gave them information, which includes my full name, job field, place of work, and possibly the address of our flat. While they have not done anything with this information yet, that I know of, my ex-boyfriend has stayed in touch this whole time. So if he messages them saying I broke up with him, they might decide to pay me a visit. Now there's no longer a man in the house. My ex-husband has offered to stay with me temporarily. I don't know if I have grounds for an RO, but it might be time to look for a new place. So yeah, sorry for how dramatic this whole thing sounds. I just wanted to post an update because I got a lot of good advice on the first post, and I want to thank everyone who responded. Situation is now resolved, though it isn't exactly the happiest ending, and there's still stuff to work out, but this part is over at least. Thanks again.